Hey, what's going on, guys? This is the guitar lesson for All Along the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix. Alright, so before we get started, just make sure you tune your guitar 1/2 step down from standard. Okay, so all your strings are 1/2 step lower than standard. So the E becomes a D sharp, the A becomes a G sharp, and so on. Alright? And with that said, this song is played in, if it was standard, it would be in the key of C sharp minor. So your pentatonic box would be right here on the 9th fret, which would normally be a C sharp if we were in standard. Okay, so that's the key we're playing in. All right, so now the first part of this is the intro, and the intro lead, the first solo of many in this song. All right, so before we do that, the rhythm chords are you have a C sharp minor chord. And then you have a B major chord, and then you have an A major chord. Alright, so the intro starts out by going like this. Okay, and then the first solo kicks in, so it's just those 3 chords. Now, the way the lead is basically the rhythm behind the lead is slightly different than what we just played, but it's still the same 3 chords. So the rhythm is. So that's your rhythm behind it, so it's still the same 3 chords. Alright, now if you're watching this from YouTube, you're not going to have the tabs and the chord diagrams on the screen, so just follow along. If you're watching this from the website, just look at what the tabs are and follow along with them, plus what I'm saying. Alright, so the way this lead starts out, the first one, is it slides up to the 13th fret of the G string, and then it goes to the 12th fret of the B string, and then it does a series of bends on the 14th fret of the B string. So it goes. Alright, so that's the first part. And then it does a bend release, and then back down to the 12 of the B. So we have. And then you're doing a pre-bend release on the 11th fret of the G string. So. Okay. And then you do a little slide into the 11th fret of the D, to the 9th fret of the G, and then you're doing a series of bends and releases on the 11th fret, like so. Alright, so far we have. Alright, now you're doing another one of these pre-bend releases on the 11th fret of the G, to the 9th fret of the G, to the 11th fret of the D. So. And then it ends off by going a 7/9 hammer on the B, to a 9 on the G, and then it ends by doing a full step bend on the 12 of the B. And it does 2 bends. It goes, and it kind of slides out of it. So the whole thing is. Alright, now playing that over the rhythm, I have the rhythm stored in my looper. That sounds like this. The rhythm doesn't kick in until after you're already on the 14th fret, so it's. Okay, so that's how the first solo sounds. Now, one thing I noticed, because when you're kind of initially in this position between the 9th and 12th frets here, and then you have to kind of jump over to the 7th, 9th fret area and then finish up that bend on the 12th. There is easier ways to play that. However, that's just the way, I find it easiest to play. I find it easiest to do a hammer pull with your first and third finger, and then do the bend with your middle finger. Okay, because that allows you to let that note, the ninth fret of the G string, ring just slightly longer than if I was to use my middle finger. Okay, it's just a little nuance that I noticed. Okay, so basically with that said, that's the first part, so let's get into the verse. Alright, so here is the verse and the second solo. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the verse, because the verse is just a matter of just doing a couple little fills here and there, kind of in the C sharp pentatonic area. So you could either play the C sharp here like we were before, the C sharp minor chord, or you could play the C sharp minor chord here, rooted on the A string. Okay, so. And really all he's doing is he's kind of in the, just in the pentatonic box, but in the pentatonic box rooted on the A string, which I call the home box, rooted on the A string. Okay, so. So he's just kind of doing things like, and, or, things like that. Nothing too, that you can't really just figure out just by simply listening and just watching, So he's going. Okay, so that thing that he's doing right there is he's just kind of fourth fret of the G string, fifth fret of the B string, and then sliding that same shape up 2 frets, and then back down 2 frets. Okay, so that's pretty much just that kind of stuff he's doing throughout the verses. All right, so it's really the solos that I really want to break down in this lesson. Okay, because the solos are not necessarily super difficult, but those aren't so easy to listen to and just kind of figure them out. So the second solo basically. It's I guess you could call it the chorus of the song. So it starts out with a bend. It's you put your first finger on the 9th fret of the high E string, and then your third finger or fourth finger, whichever one you're more comfortable with. I'm better with my third finger, on the 12th fret, and it kind of goes. Okay, so it bends just the B string and not the E string. All right. Okay, so it kind of bends it and then does a bend release. So, and then as soon as he does that bend release, he comes down and does the same type of thing, only he's on the 9th fret of the 9th fret of the B string and the 11th fret of the G string. So it's. Okay, so if you're watching this from YouTube, you don't have the tabs on the screen. If you're watching this from the website, the tabs indicate whether it's full step bends, half step bends, or 1.5 step bends, and all the notes are accurate. I checked them multiple times. So if you're on the website, just follow the tabs as well. All right, so that's how this starts out. All right, and then it does a little slide to the 11th fret of the D string, and then to the 9th fret of the G, to the 11th fret of the G, to the 12th fret of the B, to the 14th fret of the B, and then he bends the 14th fret one whole step. Okay, so far we have. Alright, so that's a full step bend this time. Now when he does a bend release on the 14 to the 12 of the B string, so it's. Okay. full step bend. Then he starts bending the 14th fret of the B string 1.5 steps, okay? So then he starts bending it to the note that you would hear if you were to play the 17th fret. So he's now reaching that note. So it goes. So it's kind of like a bend, release, bend, but now he's hitting that 1.5 step bend, okay? And just practicing this, my fingers are all calloused up because I don't usually, I do bends a lot, but whatever. Just practicing this solo over and over so I can teach it. Really, it's ripping my fingers apart. Maybe I need different strings. So. Okay, and after he does that 1.5 step bend, he goes. So it's a release. Then down to the 12, then to the 14, okay, and then it's then he goes to the 12 and does a full step bend on the 12. So it's. All right, now the next part is something that is a lot easier to demonstrate simply by playing over a looped rhythm with a metronome, okay? Because the timing is very critical of how he fits this phrase in here. All right, I'll show you the notes now, or you could just look at the tabs if you're watching it from the website. But it's much better demonstrated once I play it over the loop, okay? So after he does this part, he does a little slide to the 11th of the D string. Then to the 9th of the G, and then to the 11th of the G, and bends that note. Then he goes 9/9 to the B and E. All right, and then he does a little bend on the 12th fret of the B string. Okay, and after he does that 12th fret bend, he does a blues lick that goes like this. Okay, so the notes are all right there in the blues scale. All right, so I'm going to play this slow. Actually, I'm going to play the whole solo slow right after this. But let me first play it up to speed so I can show you how it is. So it's all right there in the blues scale. So it's he bends the 12 on the B string, goes to the 9 of the high E. Okay. And then 12 of the G to 9/9 of the B and E. And then 12/9 of the B. Okay, then 12, 11, 9 of the G, and then 11 of the D, and then a little bend of the 11 on the G to the 9. Okay, so it's very hard to describe this note for note, but if I just play it with the looper, it sounds like this. Okay, so I'll take it from here. Okay, so I'll slow this down for you as soon as I get through this, which it's almost over anyway, but I'll slow it down for you so you can learn this phrasing at a slower speed. But anyway, let me play that again. So it's like... Okay, so it's... I'm going to try playing that a little slower. Alright, so that's how it is. Right after this, I'm going to do the whole thing over the looped progression at a slower tempo, so you can kind of watch it and fit your phrasing in and see exactly how it's done. So let me just do the whole solo at this speed, and then I'll do that, okay? So you have... it at regular speed. Now let me play it at a little bit slower speed for you. Alright, so here is the third solo, and this is the solo right before the, right before the next solo, which is kind of like the wah-wah solo that he does, the real, with all the effects on it and whatnot. So, again, this is right here in this pentatonic area, right in the C-sharp minor pentatonic area. Nothing is too crazy or complicated, so I won't need to do a slow demo because nothing's really that hard. It's just a matter of just kind of, there's a lot of double notes where some of the notes are played on one string and then some of the notes are played bent on the other string, achieving the same note, but it gives a certain effect. So you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. So it starts out by going, okay, so that's 9th fret of the G string to the 11th fret of the G string. And then you bend on the 11th fret of the G string. And then you land on the 11th fret of the D string. Okay, and then it does another one of these 9, 12, 9 on the E string, 12 on the B string, and you're just bending the note of the B string. Okay. Okay, so he's going. So he's doing a bend release on the 12 of the B string, coming down to the 9th fret of the B string, and then he's coming to the 11th fret of the G string, back to the 9th fret of the B string, and then doing a double bend on the 11th fret of the G string. So these are the same notes, but the fact that one is bent and one is just a regularly picked note gives it a different effect. So okay, and after that it goes, so that's a bend release. Bend release of the 11th fret to the 9th fret on the G string, coming down to the 11th fret of the D string, and then ending that phrase on the 11th fret bend of the G string. Okay? Okay, and now he does 9th fret of the high E string, and then slide to the 14th of the B, okay, which again are the same note, but the fact that it's sliding into a note on the B string, it gives it a different effect. Okay, and then he hits the 12th fret of the E, up to the 14th of the E, and then a bend. Alright, and that's another bend release between the 14 and the 12 of the high E. Alright, and then another bend on the 14. Okay, so you're all right in that 14-12, right on the high E and the 14 of the B. Alright, after you get to there, you do you're down on the 14th of the B string, and you do a 1.5 step bend. So it's kind of a bend and release. So you're doing a 1.5 step bend. You're coming all the way up to the note of the 17th fret. All right, but you're holding that bend and bending and releasing it. So. And then it ends the whole solo on the 11th fret of the G string. 11th fret bend. Okay, so full step bend. Okay, or you can just slide to the 13th fret. Alright, it's the same note, whichever you think sounds better. Okay, so the whole thing is... Okay, so let me play it now with the rhythm track. Okay, and at that point, once he's doing the bend on the 11th fret, once he's doing the bend on the 11th fret, the rhythm chills out, and that's when it goes into that solo, the wah solo with all the effects. Okay, so I don't think that this solo is too complicated or has any fast phrasing for which I need to slow it down. So, just kind of follow the tabs if you're watching it from the website, or just you can rewind as many times as you need to if you're watching it from YouTube. So that's solo number 3, not too difficult. Okay, so here's solo number 4. Now, so this solo is probably the trickiest one, both to play and to teach, okay? So the way I'm going to do this is, number 1, I'm not going to have all the effects that Jimi Hendrix has on it. It's not going to have the delay, or I will use a little delay as I'm doing the demonstrations, but I'm not going to use wah, because if I use wah, it's really hard to hear the actual notes I'm playing, okay? So I'm not going to put the wah on there. And I'm also going to play it at a slower BPM. I'm going to play it at about a BPM of about 90. The actual song's at about 116 or something like that, okay? Because it's very important that you get the phrasing down for all this, because some of these licks that he does, at least to me, they're not usually things that I would do, okay? They're awesome. I mean, it's Jimi Hendrix stuff, all right? So, and number 2, it's just not going to have Jimi Hendrix swag, because, the guy he plays like Jimi Hendrix, okay? So, obviously I'm not Jimi Hendrix, but I'm going to do my best I can to try and relay what he's doing, okay? The notes that he's playing. Okay, so this first part here that he does, I'm not sure if he uses a slide or not, or what effect it is, but this is the notes that's going on, okay? So, it starts off, it's just pieces of an A major chord, okay? So it's the 17 on the B, and the 18 on the G. So it just kind of goes, slides out, all right, and then from there it's doing all these octave chords, okay? So by octaves, you simply put your first finger on a note of the D string, and then you put your pinky on a note of the B string 2 frets down, okay? So I'm just going to refer to the note that I'm playing on the D string for this whole part, okay? So it slides up to the 11, okay? Now keep in mind they're octaves, so you're still going to have your pinky down on the note that's 2 frets down on the B string. So I'm just referring to the note on the D string. So it slides up to the 11. Okay, and then it goes up to the 13, to the 14. So it goes... Okay, then it goes to the 16, then back down to the 11. Alright, so it's... Okay, and then he slides up all the way to the 14, to the 16, and then a 16 to the 18, then back down to the 16, then then back down to the 12, or 14 I mean. So let me just play it, it's a lot easier to explain it. So it's okay, so it ends on that 16 and it kind of slides out. So with the rhythm we have so those are the notes, and whatever effects he's using, I'm not 100% sure, but those are the notes. Okay, now the next part is where it really kicks in with the wah, the wah pedal. All right, and this is more octaves, only it's on the G and the high E string this time. Okay, so again, I'm just going to refer to the note that I'm playing on the G string. So it's. Alright, so that is a 9 on the G, to 11, to a 13, to a 16. Alright, and the rhythm goes. Alright, so over the rhythm. Alright, and now it does this little blues lick, or this little blues run, if you will, in the key. It's all right here in this pentatonic area, right in the C sharp minor pentatonic area, 9th to 12th fret. All right, and the way that this goes is, if you're watching this from the website, just look at what the tabs are saying, because the tabs are exactly what I'm playing. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm just going to play it a few times, and I'm going to play it slow, and I'm going to play it over the rhythm so you can see what I'm doing. So it's. So played over the looped progression, I'm going to start from this, the octaves on the G and E. So one more time. So that's the first blues lick. Alright, now the second one that he does goes. So now keep in mind that the first bend on the 12 is a little bit of a longer hold, because the one beat starts once you're on the 9th fret of the high E string. So it's, see what I'm doing? You hold the 12 and then the 9 is on the 1. So you gotta kind of feel the pulse going on, and that's when this lick starts. So it's. One more time. Alright, so just do exactly as the tabs say if you're watching this from the website. Alright, one more time, even slower. Okay, so that's that blues lick. All right, and then this ends on more of these the 9/12. So where you're just bending the note on the B. Okay, and then to the 11 and 14, where you're just bending the note on the B again. All right, so let me play the whole solo up to there. Okay, so it's. So that's that so far, and then the end of this is actually pretty simple. It's just you're just doing 3 chords. Basically, it's just doing the same 3 chords that the whole song is. So it's a you can either play the C sharp minor chord, all right, or you can just bar. And now these are just the high 4 strings. Okay, so these are the D, G, B, and E strings, right? Or you can just bar the 4 strings, the 4 high strings. Alright, and it just does a little hammer on. Okay, so that hammer is just, it's the 11th fret of the high E string, and then you're pulling off, so. Okay, or you can do the C sharp minor chord. Okay, so, you know, it doesn't really sound that much difference if you put your 3rd finger there or not. Okay, so it's or basically the same. It's just a C sharp minor chord. If you don't use your 3rd finger there, then it's a C sharp minor 7 chord. Okay. All right, and then it's it goes down to a B major chord. All right, so it's just the high 4 strings. Okay, then to an A major chord. Okay, so you may be familiar with these chords. If not, just look at what the tabs are saying. So, and then after you get to the A major chord, it comes up and it slides to an 8 on the B, 9 on the G, and then you keep that shape and you just slide it 1 more fret up. And then he comes up to the 13, 14, but he doesn't really hang on that too long. He just kind of goes. Okay, so it's. The second time it doesn't. The second time when he gets to the A, he just kind of goes. Okay, to the exact rhythm of the song. All right, so it's. All right, and then the last time it does bends, where again you're doing the E and the B string, and then you're on the 9 and 12, and then you're on the 11 and 14, and then you're on the 12 and 15, and then you're on the 14 and 17, and then you're ending the whole thing on the 16 and 19. Okay, so this ending part is. So that's kind of how it fits in timing wise. As far as getting Jimi Hendrix's swag to it, I don't quite have that, you know, but those are the notes he's doing. So he's just kind of playing off the chords there, and then he's just finishing up with those, you know, those little bends on the E and the B, okay? So Let me do the whole solo now at this speed, and you can just kind of follow along with what I'm doing. So that is that solo. Alright, so it definitely didn't sound like the track because the track has all that wah and has all the, all the delay and all the cool Jimi Hendrix swag and all that stuff. But, those are the notes, okay? So, you know the notes, you know how the phrasing goes now. Do your best to swag it up Jimi Hendrix style. Alright, so all we have left is just the final solo of the song, and that's it. And the last solo is not too bad, so let's get to that. Alright, so here's solo number 5, and this is the last solo of the song. The song just kind of fades out as the solo is going on, and this is actually the easiest of all the solos that we've went through so far. Okay, so basically all it is it's a series of just the same things that we've already done before. You're just kind of you're hitting a note on the high E string, and you're bending a note 3 frets up on the B string. Okay, so it's another one of these. Alright, and now every time you do these, you can either hit both of the strings, or you can kind of bend and then just hit the note on the E string. It doesn't matter. I didn't tab it out that way, but just know that they're the same note, because when you bend this note, it's the same as this note. So whichever note you want to hit, it doesn't matter. So if you want to go, or you want to hit them both at the same time, whatever you want to do. Okay, so I didn't tab it out exactly. It's just really a matter of feel. Alright, so the bends are simply just a 9-12, where of course you're only bending the 12, you're only bending the note on the B string. And an 11-14, and a 12-15, and a 14-17, and a 16-19, and then you're ending with a 19th fret bend on the high E string. And for some reason that note doesn't sound well on my guitar. Kind of cuts out for me. So sorry about that, but that's what this Strat does. I don't know why it doesn't sound good. But anyway, just kind of and there's one little riff in there too. Once it gets to the 11-14, it goes. All right, so it kind of sounds like this. That's all the solo is. So I'm just hitting that high note on the 21st fret to kind of compensate for the fact that the 19th fret bend doesn't really work on this guitar. Maybe my action needs to be adjusted or something like that, but that's it. So that's the whole song. That's solo number 5. Pretty simple. If I missed anything, if I left anything out, feel free to contact me or hit me up. But other than that, that's the whole song of All Along the Watchtower. Thanks a lot.